guys, and welcome to Hank's True Barbecue. I am your host, Hank, and today we're going to talk about a biltong box, and we're actually going to dry meat in it too. Now the word biltong is South African, so it relates to dried salted meats. There's an equivalent, I would say, rough equivalent in North America. It's called beef jerky. If you're in South America, it's called charqui. But the basic concept is the same, that you want to dry meat and salt it, so it's basically a preservation method. The nice thing about it is you can do it at home quite easily. You can buy ready-made biltong boxes, you can also fabricate them, they're dead cheap to make. I made this one from plastic, it's a plastic box. Got some of these round bars and I drilled a few holes to pull all the way through, so now I have 4 different bars. And a few meat hooks. You can get really small meat hooks or bigger meat hooks depending on the size of the box. So how does it work, you may ask? Let's take a look inside. So it's your ordinary plastic storage box. I bought a vent here that I made a hole for, so it's basically just a vent to prevent anything from coming in, foreign objects, dust, etc. The fan down here, this is an extraction fan, so I bought it because it's typically used for extracting moisture from bathrooms. You may have seen it in quite a few shower rooms, etc. This is, again, I bought it as is. All I did was create a hole on the side here. It even comes with a practical on-off switch, so all I have to do is plug it in the wall. Now this is a low RPM fan, as should be. The point of having this one is continually extracting moisture from the box. I also have a lid to put on it. So you hang the meat in strips here. We're gonna prep them and apply a little rub. Put the lid on, start the fan, and then we leave it for between 1 and 2 weeks. It depends on surrounding temperature, etc. But as you can see, it's really simple. So let's get started prepping the meat. In this case, I'm gonna dry some wild boar tenderloin. So here we have the wild boar tenderloin actually. I didn't do any trimming except remove the silvery membrane up here, so except for that it's good to go. I'm going to use a rub I created called Hank's Signature Seasoning. I think it's going to be a real good match with this one because it contains coffee, chipotle chili and some cocoa. I made that one to make it easy for myself but also for you guys. It's available on Amazon, so get it if you like. So what I'm going to do now is apply the rub. I'm just going to let it sit for half an hour and then we're going to hook it and hang the meat. Now the nice thing again with this one is it contains salt, so it's going to add nice flavor and maximize the flavor of the meat in itself. And as always, think of hygiene and keep everything clean because this is going to hang for a while. You don't want odd growth on the meat, something to happen while curing it. This should be good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half because it's rather long. I don't want to touch the bottom of my biltong box. Just a little bit on top here too. That's starting to look good. Alright, I think we're done. Just gonna get the rub on the cutting board too. Now in terms of thickness, I think this is just right, so I'm just gonna cut it in half here. And then hook it. Now I think this is just right, but if you have a bigger piece of meat, it's gonna take more than 2 weeks to dry it, but it's still gonna work. So either you cut it in thinner strips, like this size, which I think is really good, or you can leave it as is bigger. That should be good. Next hook. All right. Now a few words about the details of the box. As you may have seen, I have the vent for intake up here, and then the fan for exhaust is down below. That's because I want to force air, not so much across the meat, but across the box. I'm trying to avoid stale air pockets, so it doesn't matter which one's on top and which one's bottom, but remember that if you construct your own. Also, a few of them, typically larger boxes, they contain a light bulb in here. The light bulb, I mean traditional light bulb, it's not an LED, you need the tungsten light bulb. What that does is create heat. It heats up the surrounding air. It's not so much to raise temperature in the box, but when you heat up air, it's going to move upwards and thereby creating a natural draft. I didn't put a light bulb in here because it's a relatively small box, so I think the fan is a better option. And typically when it comes to temperatures, I'm going to keep this one at room temp. If the air in the box is too hot, that means you're going to dry out the meat on the outside, but it's still going to be raw on the inside, so you want a nice balance there. So I think room temp is fine. We're going to hang the meat. There's plenty of space since I only have these two currently, but I'm going to put the lid on. And then we're going to turn on the fan. And I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Alright folks, we're back. 2 weeks have passed and this is looking really good. Should pop open the lid and check it out. Now these are all nice and dry, looking really good, so we're gonna put them on the cutting board and slice them up and give them a good taste. The box also looks fine, squeaky clean as should be. Just a few drips on the bottom of the box, but that's fine, that's expected when we're losing all that fluid. So let's cut through these and give them a taste test. As you can see, they've gone quite stiff, as should be, since we've dried them quite a bit. Smells really good. You can still smell the rub, which is nice. So let's see if we can slice these up. I'm gonna cut the thickest one straight through just to check it. This is looking real good. Just a little bit of flex, but really well dried out, so time for a taste test. This should be a good snack for a beer or a cold glass of white wine or something. Ah, this is looking real nice. Almost like a dried ham. Great flavor. I like this. This is a good snack. Alright, so using our homemade Biltong box, we could dry this meat in 2 weeks, which is real nice, real easy. Good way to create your own snack. Now some words for advice, I would say keep the temp down if you can. I put this box in my basement where it's 15 degrees Celsius, so slightly cooler than room temp. I think it was good. Because again, we want the air to pull out the moisture. We don't want to dry it from the outside and in. Thickness of meat, like when you check it, press on it like this, squeeze it a bit. There should still be some flex. If you look this thinnest part at the very end, it's just a bit dry. Still edible, absolutely, but that's the way you know how to check if it's done or not. If you do check like that when it's in the box, put on some gloves or make sure your hands are clean so you don't contaminate the meat while drying. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.